Hello, one and all, to a brand new season of the Just Interesting podcast. And I'm joined, as always, by Robin. How are you, Robin?
Hello, Martin. I am well, thank you. Very well indeed. Very happy to be back.
Good. You're sounding a little bit Scottish there. And someone who is in Scotland, Alex.
And I'm going to disappoint anyone new listening to the podcast by not having a Scottish accent right now. Yes. Hello, Martin. Welcome. Glad to be back.
Fantastic. Well, the last season ended in dramatic fashion, fantastic fashion, in fact, with someone winning the quiz and the season as a whole.
Who was that person, Martin? Who was that?
Won't mention who. Their
name began with an M and ended with an N. Just with a. See if you can guess, folks. See if you can guess who it was.
Miriam.
Pretty sure I think puts you at the. I think you have the most wins by season, tournament-wise.
I mean,
I think you do, yeah.
I mean, it helps that he cheats every single time, but I mean, yeah.
This is scandalous.
Whoa.
In fact, I got I don't go into the weeds here too much, but we did like a task thing, a team building task thing, and I had to do one for my team, right? And all the different groups of people within the company came round and did our team building kind of task, meant to be fun and interactive. And then they judged each group on how interactive it was, how informative it was, etc., etc. Anyway, an email came round today saying that we had won, but the person who wrote the email was like, "Oh, there were allegations of vote tampering. Not that many votes have been counted. They're trying to diminish our result of winning this competition.
Stop
we were
the
accused
count.
of cheating.
Stop the steal."
I know, it was outrageous. It was worse than the US election. But anyway, I digress. This week, gentlemen, are you excited to be talking about wind? Quite frankly,
yes. I love me some wind, especially the wind that can suck me in and kill me.
Especially that type of wind.
Especially, yeah.
Well, hopefully that won't be the case because we're talking specifically about how you can survive a tornado. What the idea is. The ideas around survival, some best practices, if you were, around surviving a tornado. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But before we get on to that,
I think it's worth mentioning as well, Martin, that we are not in any way sponsored by the new Twisters film coming out.
We wish we were sponsored by the Twisters film.
If only Universal, please. I mean, for the record, I'm a big fan of the original Twister.
I'm a big fan of Pepsi. I love Pepsi. So,
okay. What? Okay.
Pepsi was the whole thing was sponsored by Pepsi, wasn't it?
Oh, of course, because that's
Oh, of course, yeah. For the cans, yeah.
Oh my god! Wow, I never even realized that was a Pepsi plug. Oh my gosh!
See,
my life is
Madam Web, take note. Twister is how you do product placement.
Yeah. No, it was great. Fantastic. But before we go on to that, we'll be talking about what we've learned this week. We're bringing that one back for this season to the main podcast. So hopefully you'll find that interesting.
We know everyone messed up. And we are jettisoning the riddle, I think. Is that the plan?
I think for now, but we can bring it back.
Everyone loved it, but of course. But I think they preferred the what we learned this week.
Indeed. I think that was the case. But before we do that, we'd just like to say a little thank you to a few special people that keep the lights on here at the Just Interesting podcast.
We do indeed want to say a special thank you to all of our Patreon members and YouTube members, all of our supporters, well, all of you just listening to us, obviously. Give us a like, give us a share if you enjoy this and want to share us with other people. But especially thank you to Amy Licious, Cindy Hafner, Rashad Najar, Caleb Wilkerson, Kurt Jones, John Baker, Janie, Henny Ruffle, The Super Show Podcast, Nicholas Dill, Emmett Tapia, Ahmad, Peaswad, Josh Chomatek, A Filthy Casual, and Simon Workman. Wonderful, wonderful special people who support us on Patreon and as YouTube members. And they just help us, like you say, keep the lights on.
Just such amazing people. They've been supporting us for so long now. And yeah,
I know, it's incredible.
No, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we give nothing back.
Well, that's partially true. No, it's not. It's not true. I mean, we like to do a little more interesting over on the Patreon, where we talk about other topics that don't make the cut on the main podcast, ranging from politics that we probably don't want to get into too much on the main podcast, but some people are interested in. A little behind the scenes sneak peeks of upcomoming projects when we're doing them.
And YouTube members also get access to exclusive emojis that we created based on. We should probably create some more, actually. A new batch of emojis for the new season.
New season, new emojis. If you have been watching for a while, maybe suggest some ideas in the comments down below. Also, the keenly eyed among you, so not the podcast listeners, but if you're watching us on YouTube, you'll notice the background graphics have had a little bit of a refresh, but there's some space on the background as well. So if you have any particular suggestions of what you'd like to see, maybe some inside jokes, then maybe you suggest something in the comments and maybe we'll whip up some artwork for that as well.
Fantastic. I thought you were just looking for a bit of a pat on the back there, Alex, because they do look good. Right. If you haven't noticed already, please say they're good.
Thank you.
No, they are. They're really good. Well done. Very good. Okay, so before we get into the main topic, gentlemen, what have you learned this week? Who wants to go first?
Alex can go first.
Well, just to play devil's advocate for a second, is something that you hear quite a lot on this podcast, and that is what I've learned this week, where that phrase comes from. Devil's advocate.
Devil's advocate.
Just to play devil's advocate for a second. Do either of you know this already? I suspect Robin might know. No?
No.
Okay. So the devil's advocate was at one point an official position within the Catholic Church whose job was to find evidence against a saint candidate. So there's a candidate for sainthood. The devil's advocate literally would play devil's advocate, and like as you would use it in modern day. And not necessarily not believe that they're a saint, but try to find evidence against it. Try to take a skeptical view of the candidate's character, to look for holes in the evidence, to argue that any miracles attributed to them were fraudulent, and so on. And I also learned that the devil's advocate was opposed God's advocate, which is like the promoter of the cause, apparently.
Yes.
So whose task was to make the argument in favor of the canonization. So, yeah.
I just imagine the devil's advocate at the back of the room just going, bullshit, rubbish.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like there probably does exist, but I feel like there's obvious material for all kinds of dramas, TV, film, like courtroom dramas, but God's advocate and the devil's advocate, butting heads about a saint.
So you want Law and Order, but set in the Vatican?
Yes, that's what I want.
Nice.
With I want it as part of the Pope's Exorcist with Russell Crowe cinematic universe. I want that.
Yeah.
Anyone seen that movie knows what I'm talking about.
I don't think enough people have seen that movie to make it into a cinematic universe.
Let's do it. The campaign starts here. Everybody go home, watch the Pope's Exorcist after listening to the podcast, of course, with Russell Crowe, and make this cinematic universe happen. Do it.
Very good. Very good. Right, Robin.
What did I learn this week? Well, actually, similarly kind of religiously themed, but completely unintentionally. I learned are you a fan of Japanese cuisine? I'm a fan of Japanese cuisine. I like the occasional Japanese takeaway. And my favorite thing about Japanese cuisine is probably tempura.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
A wonderful batter. And I remember distinctly having a conversation quite recently, which is what prompted me to discover this fact, with my spouse. And I said, tempura batter is delicious. And there's something pleasing about knowing that.
Do you know what? Do you know what I've just been thinking? Tempura batter is delicious.
Delicious. And the thing
was
is,
like, Robin, it's 3 a.m. Please go to sleep.
So I have
a child. I haven't slept in 24 hours. Please shut up. No, sorry.
No, that's all right. It's true though. It's true. But I have some Scottish blood, and my wife likes to tease me and say that I will eat anything if it's deep fried and in batter. And it's true. Sadly, it is true. I will eat it. But I did say, tempura batter proves to me that there's something in the human condition that all these different cultures make their own version of batter. So I thought, out of interest, I'll find out where it comes from. And guess what? Tempura batter originates from Portugal.
Oh,
it's not Japanese.
Really? I thought you were going to say Scotland.
No. Well, it is Japanese, except they get it from Portuguese missionaries who went out to Japan, and they had a special, I guess it's kind of like pancakes. They had a batter that they would make during Lent.
Oh, okay.
And they would eat food dipped in this batter to help them avoid eating meat.
In fairness,
so
if you
kind of get extra,
if you're craving something, something deep fried is going to help for sure.
Exactly. And it's called tempura because in Latin, the monks would use this, or the missionaries would use this phrase to refer to food. I think it's quatuor anni tempora, which means holy days. Tempura in the sense of time when you eat this type of food. And the Japanese heard that and associate it with the food. And they're like, oh, they call it tempura.
Oh, I see. So it's a mistranslation.
It is, because tempura actually refers to the occasion when they eat this food, not the food itself. Yeah.
Very interesting.
And then they made tempura chicken and just kind of ruined the entire point.
The whole thing. Yeah, they just got wrong end of the stick there.
Okay, Robin, quick yes or no then. Let's see how much of a fan you are of tempura.
Okay.
A tempura fried Mars bar, yes or no?
Oh, yes.
Tempura fried potatoes.
Yes.
Tempura fried grapes.
Ooh. If they survived, I bet that'd be really interesting. Yeah.
Okay, last one. Tempura fried licorice.
Okay. Maybe not. I hate licorice. I can't imagine batter would really make it that much better.
The thing is, whatever I've tried deep fried, it doesn't really add much to the experience except for like just fat and like makes it crispy, but also I don't know. And in many cases, I feel like it makes it worse.
Alex,
we've caused a rift.
It's too much.
Season 8's going to be short.
And
such a contrarian.
And as someone who lives in Scotland, obviously when I have people coming up to stay and stuff, the first thing they're like is, "Oh, I want to try a deep fried Mars bar." Of all the people that try it, they get about halfway through and they're like, "I'm done."
Actually disgusting.
And they're not sold on it. So I don't know. I don't think I'm being the contrarian here, but I don't know. Let us know in the comments who's right on the major issue of deep frying foods.
Yes. What have you eaten deep fried that you wouldn't expect, and what wouldn't you eat deep fried if you had the same things that Martin just posed to me? If you were to eat anything deep fried, where would you draw the line? Let us know in the comments below.
There we go. Well, gents, this week, on a completely unrelated and different note,
I just love the phrase, where would you draw the line? For what would you batter and eat?
Okay. Oh, very good.
Sorry, Martin.
I've learned a fact about beavers.
Oh.
Beavers, don't batter
There's the
beavers.
line. That's
the
Physically or foodily. I learned about beavers' eyes, or more specifically, their eyelids. So beavers have a translucent third eyelid.
What?
And I'm gonna butcher this. It's called a nictitating membrane, which covers and protects their eyes when underwater. And it allows them to have their eyes open when they're underwater and to be able to see, and not fully see through them. It's going to be a bit fuzzy, right?
Yeah.
But being able to see underwater, allow some light through and some vision, so that they can see what they're doing when they're hunting and diving and swimming around.
So they've got swim goggles. They've got swimming goggles. That's awesome.
They've got swimming goggles.
What?
Yeah.
It's incredible.
That's pretty cool, right? I didn't know that.
Nature's amazing.
Maybe there might be a whole lot of people at home, probably some of the people in the who do the quiz on our monthly quiz that we do, who are like, of course they do. Everyone knows that. But I didn't know this, and so I thought that was really interesting.
No, I'd never heard that either. Yeah. No, that's very interesting.
I'm really intrigued as to how that whole mechanical system operates.
So is it
do they just automatically like come down when they go into the water or something? Or
Yeah, and I don't know the mechanics of it, but I will find out for you. Don't you worry, Robin.
And is it just beavers that have this? They're the only animal that has this, or do other animals have a variation of it? Or?
I imagine it's probably something that's been adapted by other animals too, but beavers was the one that stuck out, and the one that I found the fact on. So that's what we're going to do today.
You were just Googling beaver membrane.
Beaver's eyes.
Came up.
Yeah, facts about beavers. Yeah, that's how I spend my evenings. There we go.
Nice.
Well, that was really interesting. Yeah.
Fantastic. And what might be more interesting is our main topic of the week, which is how to survive a tornado. You ready?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So, how to survive a tornado? Well, I think first we've got to establish what a tornado is. And actually, it's pretty damn complicated of how they form. And it's not exactly completely understood, the reasons why they form. But generally, it involves the interaction of warm and moist air at the surface near the ground with cooler, drier air above it. And changes in wind direction. So significant changes in wind direction cause this circular motion that creates a tornado. And typically tornadoes are funnel shaped, as we all know. And they can vary massively in size, from a few meters to over 1 kilometer wide, which is pretty scary at their biggest.
Yeah.
They can rotate both ways, clockwise and counterclockwise, depending on which hemisphere they occur in. So in the northern hemisphere up here, they tend to be counterclockwise, whereas in the southern hemisphere, they tend to be clockwise.
Is that like toilets flushing? The same logic.
That's interesting.
I imagine so.
I didn't know that. That's cool. I'm getting bonus facts of the week this time.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trust the toilet flushing, by the way. I think the Simpsons debunked that, but never mind.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, probably. Yeah. I was thinking.
Wait,
what?
I
don't think that's great.
Is that not true?
The toilet flushing one.
That's not true.
I think we'll have to go on Mythbusters on that one. Yeah.
That's that's blowing my mind. I can't believe that's not true. My entire belief system has just crumbled on this podcast live. Yeah.
Tornadoes can blow both ways. What? Oh no, they don't blow. They suck.
Yes, indeed. There we go. Someone says the same thing. Intensity. So the intensity of tornadoes is measured on the enhanced Fujita, the EF Fujita, which is it's not for heaters. The EF scale, which ranges from EF0 to EF5. I've got a little bit of information as to kind of what this actually represents in real life, right? Mm-hmm. So EF0 is between 65 to 85 miles per hour, causes light damage such as broken tree branches, shallow-rooted trees being pushed over, and minor roof damage.
It's kind of the most of what we get in the UK. That's the furthest it gets to
upper
the
limits,
UK.
Yeah.
Exactly. EF1, moderate damage. EF2 is up to 135 miles an hour. Considerable damage, like roofs being torn off and trees being uprooted. EF3 up to 165 miles an hour, so like houses being destroyed, damage to buildings. EF4 up to 200 miles an hour, so houses leveled, cars thrown up in the air. Pretty severe. And then the highest one's EF5, which is crazy damage. So houses being lifted, buildings being lifted off their foundations, reinforced steel and concrete structures being completely wiped out, and cars being launched as missiles through the air across hundreds of meters. So pretty severe stuff. And there have actually been a fair few of those in history, EF5s. So pretty scary if you're involved in one of those. And a little bit on the countries that have the most tornadoes. So unsurprisingly, the USA has the most recorded tornadoes. And I say recorded because, of course, there isn't really a way other than kind of like weather people and individuals recording tornadoes for them to come up with this figure. It's like a combination of different factors that come. So the figures aren't like 100% accurate, but around 1,200 tornadoes are recorded each year in the US, with Canada being in quite a distant second of around 60 to 100 per year.
Wow. So it's literally basically the US kind of has a monopoly.
The US dominates.
On tornadoes.
Yeah. And apparently there was like a really big increase in the recording of tornadoes after Twister came out, because people were just much more inclined to be recording them and sending the information into, like, weather stations, etc. Which is quite interesting. The impact of that film.
Also,
Argentina?
Pepsi sales went through the roof as well. So
I'm sure they did. Argentina 50 to 90, the UK with 30 to 50, and Australia with 20 to 30 per year. And I've got a really, really, really surprising fact here, if you hadn't looked it up within your own research. But England, and I say England specifically because it has more tornadoes than the rest of the UK, but England has more tornadoes per 10,000 kilometers than the USA.
Huh.
Wow.
Because of the geography, it being such a small country. So 2.2 per 10,000 kilometers versus 1.3. Of course, this changes depending on where you are in the US. Or Oklahoma is way more than
that's true.
other states, right? But of course, they're nowhere near as severe or as visible as they are in the US. But an interesting fact for you there.
I'll be honest, when you said that the UK had tornadoes, I thought, oh, okay. Surprising.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Makes
so
sense, I guess. But...
Yeah, and it's around the south of England usually. So apparently, like, Reading seems to be like a bit of a hotspot around London. Reading has been mentioned as a place where quite a few have been cited. And just a little bit about some of the deadliest tornadoes in history. So, of course, a lot of it depends on both the severity, the speed of the wind, but also like infrastructure, I guess, and how strong houses and buildings are, which affects kind of the death toll. But anyway, the Daulatpur Saturia tornado in Bangladesh in 1989 killed approximately 1,300 people. So that was the deadliest one in history. So quite a lot. Yeah. The Tri-State tornado in 1925 in the US, which went through Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana, covering a path of 219 miles, killed 695 people, which is the deadliest in US history. And then some of the others from the US as well. So the Great Natchez tornado, which struck Natchez, Mississippi, hollowed a riverboats in the Mississippi River, and killed 317 people. And that was in 1840, a little while ago now. And then the St. Louis East tornado in 1896 killed 255 people after, of course, hitting St. Louis and East St. Louis. Extensive damage, of course, to the urban area, which was really densely populated. So 255 deaths there. And that's just a handful of some of the deadly ones. So they can be incredibly dangerous if you aren't in the right place at the right time. Their path changes quite easily, doesn't it, at the last minute? And if you don't have the right precautions in place to deal with it. So I will hopefully use that as some kind of segue onto either you, Alex, or you, Robin, to tell us a little bit about how to survive tornadoes.
Well, I feel like... Oh, sorry. Go on, Robin.
Go for it.
Well, I was just going to say, it might flow naturally up. If you've been talking about different examples, I could talk about another example with a little more detail from... You've mentioned a lot of kind of the older ones, the kind of the Tri-State tornado, and some of the ones from history, which were obviously devastating. But what's interesting is, like, they're only getting, like, more powerful, seemingly. We haven't even begun to understand their power. But a lot of the really high tornadoes on the Fujita scale have been recorded in the last 30 years. And one that I wanted to talk about, just because it wasn't like the most deadly one, but I feel like the imagery that it evokes is actually, I was like, okay, I get why these are so terrifying now. And I wanted to talk about the Greensburg tornado in 2007. This happened in the city of Greensburg. And the size of this tornado was 1.7 miles in width. Making it extremely large and capable of causing widespread destruction. And the reason why I've chosen this one is because this was larger than the town itself.
Oh my gosh.
So the devastation was, it basically destroyed Greensburg completely.
And Greensburg's in Kansas, right?
Greensburg, Kansas. And there were, in the late 1990s, the town had a population of 2,000. And there were about 1,400 people living there before the tornado completely leveled the town. But thankfully, and I think this goes to show just how much technology has helped with this kind of thing. You mentioned hundreds of fatalities in previous instances, like 100 years ago or so. Whereas, I mean, thankfully, it's still horrible, but thankfully this tornado only caused 11 fatalities, with over 60 people injured. And I think
and I've just looked at the images and like how did only 11 people? It's just gone. The place is gone.
Well, I think thankfully, there were warnings and alerts, but this happened overnight, and people obviously had been hearing reports all day. They knew that they were in warning. There had been tornadoes that day in the surrounding towns. But then after the day, they thought they were safe. They went to sleep, and then they heard the warnings and alerts. And this is why I chose this one, because of the size of this tornado, they couldn't escape. They couldn't run away. So they had to just shelter where they were. They all had to shelter in their storm, in their bunkers or whatever they have, their tornado shelters, which they obviously have in this part of the world. But yeah, I mean, I think sadly some of the people that died were particularly like the elderly and the kind of disabled people that couldn't get down in time.
Oh dear.
But there was one comment on Reddit about this that I just wanted to read because it kind of evokes what I'm trying to say. But yeah, so this was an answer to a question: what was the scariest tornado? And yeah, this comment from Lawmaster152 just spoke to me. So they say, just imagine this. You know today's a severe weather day. You spend all day watching alerts, watches and warnings. Several tornadoes touch down, but none hit your town. You go to bed thinking it's all safe. Then the sirens go off. You take a quick look outside, hoping to see the tornado, but you only see a wall of black before you run into the shelter. Just imagine that. Like literally, as far as the eye can see, the tornado is just a wall of black.
Yeah. My gosh.
And then you kind of have to spend, they had to spend all night in that shelter. I think the tornado lasted for over 60 minutes, which in and of itself is a long time for a tornado to stay in that path.
Yeah.
But you would stay there overnight. So you're kind of just sat there in the dark, wondering what the devastation's going to be, what the debris is going to be. And then at dawn, the realization sets in as you emerge and see from one town to one side of the town to the other side, and just everything is completely leveled. It's gone, and just that is just utterly terrifying to me. But this was on the Fujita scale, an EF5, which is on the enhanced Fujita scale. So estimated wind speeds of exceeding 200 miles per hour. So it's the highest level of tornado intensity. And yeah, the path that the tornado went on stretched for approximately 22 miles and lasted for over 65 minutes. What's interesting though, and a kind of like maybe silver lining about this, is the rebuilding efforts of the town. They've taken quite an a unique rebuilding effort, and the town itself now is actually apparently a really nice place to visit because it's
all underground.
But it's focused on sustainability and green building practices. Everything's kind of brand new, and everything's kind of, I think it's generated from renewables and lots of wind power, I'm guessing. I don't know if that's really a silver lining, but yeah, and so it's not as fatal as some other ones, and I think you can see that the warning signs have definitely improved, thankfully. But I do find it interesting how there are a lot of maybe it's just a kind of bias in reporting. Maybe now since Twister came out, people are just recording more of them. But it does seem like a lot of these EF5 tornadoes have happened in recent history. And it is thought that with kind of climate change and everything, that will only kind of increase with these kind of extreme weather events.
It would be consistent with the other patterns. That's terrifying. I'm glad you came up with that example, because Martin, you're talking about the EF5, and I just thought that's ludicrous. In fact, it's so ludicrous I can't even really, like, EF2 and 3 sound more than bad enough. 5 is like, what? And now you've just described what a 5 is like. I can't imagine. And impressive that so few people died given the level of destruction.
That's it. And I imagine, you look back at those ones from the 19th and early 20th century, and no warning. Smaller towns, potentially, smaller populations, but probably just being flattened and wiped out as a result. Because there's just not the same infrastructure of buildings, and also not the same warnings in place. Scary, but things have improved for sure.
It must be horrible as well, because in a small town like that, you must know your neighbors. You must know like everyone in the town pretty much. It's a town where everyone knows each other's names. And so you're just sat there sheltering, hunkering down, hearing the devastation above you, hearing all the chaos, and just like hoping like your neighbors got down to their shelter in time. Because there were warning signs issued like in a timely manner. But, this was a really rapid onset. People would have just had time to go outside, look outside, and see it coming towards them and get down into their shelters. Really scary.
I like the idea. Sorry, Martin.
I was just going to say, time you don't want to be a deep sleeper, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You just wake up and like, where the heck is my town? Where's it gone? Just thinking, talking about the rebuilding, which is nice, by the way. That's a nice story that they rebuilt. They didn't abandon it. They made it better. They made it better. But just thinking about, let's make this place
a better
renewable.
one.
Yeah, we could make it better.
I mean, it's called Greensburg, so they kind of decided to live up to the name, I guess, and make it the greenest town in America.
Yeah.
But I hope it'd be funny if they did embrace the wind power. That is kind of ironic. Because, of course, for every person saying, we shall harness the power of the wind, we shall conquer nature, there's another person saying, we just got hit by a massive sudden tornado. Do we want to build the big sharp blades right above the town? Yeah,
exactly.
This is their version of making, they're going to build a wall and make the wind pay for it. This is their revenge. Revenge on the twisters.
Well, it sounds like that maybe there were so few casualties because people were wise and followed the official advice for what to do in case of a tornado. So, fellas, if you're ready, would you like to hear the tornado safety rules?
Well, after me and Martin's chat, I'm scared. So, I would like to
be reassured that the tremendous tornadoes that happen in England are not going to hurt us.
Yeah. It's funny. Well, as I read this advice, it's certainly the kind of advice that may not apply very well to the UK, but we'll get there. This advice comes from, as Martin established, the USA as the country with the most tornadoes. This comes from the National Weather Service, from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration in America, North America, the United States, I should say. So the first 2 points are tornado watch and tornado warning. Listen out for them if you're in an area that gets tornadoes. There'll be tornado watch issued, which is to say, keep a lookout and let us know if you see a tornado. We think one's about to happen. And then if people spot a tornado, it goes into tornado warning, which is obviously a warning to protect yourself. And in particular, seek safe shelter immediately. So in the event of a tornado, here are the safety rules to help keep you and your family safe. Basic principle, get as low as you can. A basement below ground level or the lowest floor of a building offers the greatest safety. Put as many walls between yourself and the outside as possible. Avoid windows at all costs.
So do not outside and fly a kite.
Don't go outside.
Okay.
Yeah. Do not do that. Don't try to drive away. Just stay inside. And if you've got a big enough building or can find a big enough building, go to the center of that building on the ground or underground. Do not wait until you see or hear a tornado. It may be too late. So
Makes
act as
sense.
soon as you get a
Makes
warning.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't waste time opening or closing windows and doors. It will make no difference. The tornado will damage the structure, whether the windows and doors are closed or not. You'll only waste time and put yourself and others at greater risk. Use that time instead to find a place of safety. In homes or public buildings, go to the basement or a small interior room, such as a closet, bathroom, or an interior hall on the lowest level. Close all doors to the hallway for greater protection. So, contrary to the previous point, do take time to close the doors of the room in which you are.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. If possible, get under something sturdy like a heavy table. And protect yourself from flying debris with pillows, heavy coats, blankets, or quilts. Use bicycle or motorcycle helmets to protect your head. Which, to be honest, when I read that, I thought, I might go buy a motorcycle helmet.
I read
motorbike. Just go get a helmet.
when I was looking up that case. So I read about another case where a family survived by hiding them in their bath, and they got flown about. They got flown like 1,200 feet,
Wow.
but they managed to survive.
Was it Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz?
Yeah, they survived, but they did land on a witch.
Well, that's
who did not survive.
That's what my family did. In there was a hurricane in 1991, and it hit the Midlands in the UK. And we got in the bath and got a mattress and put it over the family in the bath.
Very smart.
I think it was an unnecessary precaution. Though I don't think the windows even broke, so it was unnecessary. But
Just in case, though.
yeah. So good advice. Get in a bath, but preferably a bath on the ground floor or in a basement, according to the official advice.
And just to emphasize, get in the bath, not have a bath. Fully clothed. I think is the advice here.
If you're in a mobile home, leave well in advance of the approaching severe weather and go to a strong building. If there is no shelter nearby, get into the nearest ditch, low spot, or underground culvert. Lie flat, covering your head with your hands for protection.
Okay,
I'm not so.
I was going to say, hang on. Is that a kind of like those warnings for nuclear bombs type
Duck and
thing?
cover,
Duck and cover.
Yeah.
Is that really going to help? You sure about that?
Put your hands over your head. Yeah.
You'll be fine. Nothing can get through your hands.
No.
If you're in a vehicle or outdoors, when tornadoes are possible, so about to arrive, limit your outdoor plans or finish them early. Stay close to a sturdy shelter. If you're caught outside by the tornado, find shelter in a ditch or remain in your vehicle and cover your head for protection. Martin, you just anticipated the next rule.
There we go.
Do not take shelter under a highway overpass where wind speeds can increase due to a tunneling effect.
Okay.
Which is literally that's Man of Steel. Everyone remembers that very popular film. That's what happens in that movie. They all go to the underpass. They were going to die. Superman, you misled them. And last point, remember, stay away from doors, windows, outside walls, and protect your head. That's
At all times. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
As a side note, Robin, you actually would have an amazing voice for like public service announcements and protect your head.
Thank you. Protect your head.
Duck and
Thank
cover.
you very much.
Yeah.
I think you would too, actually. You could definitely do.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Especially if you can bring a bit more Matt Berry to it. Bring a Matt Berry impression.
Fire the nuclear missiles.
Can you say get inside the bunker now in your best authoritative voice?
Get inside the bunker now.
So good.
It would be on repeat as well, wouldn't it? With a in the background. Yeah.
What's yours, Martin? What's your
go on.
authoritative voice?
Get inside the bunker now.
Oh, that's good.
I like that. That's very scary.
It's almost angry. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. It's definitely telling you off.
Okay, well, Robin, you've got to bring us home now. Come on.
What's mine? Okay. Get inside the bunker now.
Oh, that's
so
good.
good.
No,
It's not
that's-
so good. It's stilted.
It's very
well,
good.
it's slightly less authoritative, but it's more rounded. It's You want people
I
to feel,
trust this man.
Yeah, exactly. There's a level of,
it's very
I want to follow them, not because he's ordering me to, but because, I want to. So, yeah, it's good.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We could combine all three of us. We can take each recording and splice the three together to get Martin's authoritativeness, Alex's kind of epicness, and my hopeful warmth.
And meanwhile, while we're discussing all of this, a tornado has flattened us.
Oh, wonderful. Right.
Well, thank you, gents, for sharing all that information. I think that's hopefully some of it useful, certainly all of it interesting to our lovely listeners and viewers on the YouTubes. And speaking of viewers on the YouTubes, do we want to quickly respond to some comments that maybe they've dropped us?
Absolutely. That's a good idea. Do you have any that stand out in particular this week?
Yeah, I've got one from Uncovered, our second channel.
Whoa!
This just amused me because it's a fun thing, and it's from Tigger34, who commented on a video essay about the bizarre tale of the first NASA astronaut to be fired, Lisa Nowak.
Oh yes.
And Tigger34 says, "I for some reason thought she killed her." As in, killed the other woman that she was going to kidnap. Mandela effect? Question mark. I thought,
that's an interesting one.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's been a while since we've discussed Mandela effect, so it'd be good to see if there's been any new ones. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Alex, did anything stand out for you this week?
Well, one comment on our most recent quiz episode that we did, the live quizzes that we host over on YouTube, from AmyLicious483. She says, you should make several separate shorts, as in shorts videos, that when put together make a whole film plot like The Simpsons and the McBain cutaways.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love that idea.
That's
a
really
great
good.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we should do more shorts, I think. Maybe just us out and about.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It'd be good.
But I do like the idea
social
of
media game.
I do like the idea of making a feature film and just fragmenting it into YouTube Shorts content. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it'd be fun. And I've got a comment from Case Closed that says, when Robin said Martin's cat was walking down the stairs, I lost it. With all the mishaps Martin has on the show, there have been quite a few, I'm surprised no one has created a buzzer using the audio from the disruptions. So, I might have to go. I mean, the cat he is currently lying on not very hygienic, but he's lying on the table upside down. He's asleep. He's chilling. He knocked a bowl earlier on. But that's a disruption from this episode. But
did you hear the bowl? There's like a little Easter egg then. This could be like a kind of...
Did you? Yeah.
This is like a game of Where's Waldo, but Where's Wally? But in podcast form. Cat? What was the disruption you heard this week?
Exactly. There's one hidden disruption in every episode.
I mean, if any enterprising listener wants to go back through all our episodes and make a compilation... Because I think we've activated the YouTube clips. You can make shorts clips from these episodes on YouTube if you want to. So yeah, go back and make a massive compilation of Martin's mishaps.
I mean, the cat off screen right now, he's kind of spasming out a little bit while he's asleep. I think he might be having some kind of dream. Yeah,
he's got that REM sleep. Starts running in his dream.
It's almost full body anyway. Yeah. With that, ladies and gentlemen. we will say head on over to our Patreon if you want to have a little bit more of us, a little more interesting, our mini-sodes that we produce every week for your audio visual pleasure. So feel free to do that, and just have a wonderful week. Stay safe, don't get killed by a tornado, and we will see you next time.
Bye for now.
Bye.